I'm going to be going over Webwork 10, problem 10. This is one of the spring constant problems. I feel like this is a good example that covers a lot of the different steps of it, and this one in particular actually caused me a lot of grief for stupid reasons, which I'll go over later. So we've got a mass of 265 grams attached to the end of a spring that is stretched 90 centimeters by a force of 9 newtons. And then it also is an initial value problem where it gives us T0, the mass is pulled 1.5 meters to the right, and then it's set in motion with a velocity of 5 meters per second to the left. First off, it wants us to have the spring constant. We know the mass is equal to 625 grams. We're dealing with newtons over here, and while this is also centimeters, it'll probably be easier to move everything into the meters and kilograms range. So 625 grams is equal to 0.625 kilograms. For K specifically, we don't actually need that, but I'm just going to put since it's right there. Next up, we do need the distance stretched, and S is equal to 90 centimeters, which is equal to 0.9 meters. We note the equation that F equals K, the spring constant, times the distance stretched. So if we rearrange that, we know that K is going to be equal to force divided by the distance. And we know both those numbers. So we've got 9 newtons divided by 0.9 meters. And we divide 9 by 0.9, you're going to get 10 newtons per meter, which is our K. So there's part A. The next part, it wants us to set up a differential equation that describes the system. We know that mass times x double prime plus the damping force x prime plus spring constant times x is going to be equal to f of t. Now the nice thing is no damping constant and there's no driving force, so those are both 0. So really it's just mx double prime plus kx equals 0. And all we got to do is plug our numbers in for that. And since we already figured out mass is equal to 0.5, which is 0.625 x double prime plus 10 x equals 0. And that's technically right, but there's an even simpler way of writing it. All we got to do is divide both sides by 0.625, and we're going to get x double prime, making our life way easier, only having 1 there, plus 16x equals 0. And there's part B. The next biggest step is it wants us to then find the solution for that differential equation. It also wants us to put it in a specific form. So I'm just going to start off by solving the normal solution, and then we can put it in that form. We know that beta is equal to 0. The damping force doesn't exist. So beta is going to be beta squared is going to be less than 4mk. So we know that it's going to be under damped. And since it's under damped, just from the other homeworks we've done, we know that the equation is going to be in the form of E equals negative beta over 2m times t, and all that is going to be by c1 cosine mu t plus c2 sine mu t and that's when mu is equal to pretty much just one of the parts of a quadratic formula. We're going to have 4km minus beta squared over 2m. But I don't want to memorize that. You don't want to memorize that. And he's probably not going to have that on the test. So this is good to keep in mind for just noticing that it's going to be underdamped when beta squared is equal to less than that. Because that can sort of help us know that it's going to be in this general form here. And it can help us visualize what's going to be happening with the spring as time goes on too. So the easier way to do it when you don't have other formulas or tables in front of you is you go with the x prime plus 16x equals 0, and we do what we've been doing this whole time. We're going to make multiply it by the derivatives of e, and we're going to use r here instead of m because m is for mass. So er t since x there, and we're going to get r squared for the double prime plus 16 times r, or 16 equals 0. We'll just move the 16 over. We've got r squared equals negative 16. Take the square roots of both sides. We're going to get r is equal to 0 plus or minus 4. And with Euler's formula, we've got e raised to ix is equal to cosine r. X for not in this form but our normal form is going to be equal to e raised to 0 is just going to be 1. Sine for t. Sorry, my writing. Continue on to this guy. So we know that x of t is equal to c1 cosine to sine for t. At x, or at t equals 0, mass is going to be pulled 1.5 meters to the right. If we make right positive, then we'll make 1.5 positive. Since this is going to be moving the opposite direction, it's going to be moving to the left. If we make left positive, we'll make this negative. I'm just going to make this positive since it's right there. And it's getting stretched out to the right, so we'll make that in the positive direction. So at x equals 0, it's going to be equal to 1.5 or 3 halves. And at x prime of 0, that's the velocity there, the change in position over the change in time. We've got 5 meters a second to the left. Since right is positive, that's going to be equal to negative 5 meters a second. And this is meters. This is meters a second. For the first one, we can just go right for it and do x0. Now, when cosine is equal to 0, it's 4 times 0. We're going to get 1, so that's going to be equal to c1. When sine is equal to 0, that's 0, so that's just plus 0 there. And that's equal to 3 halves. So we know c1 right off the bat. For c2, we're going to have to take the derivative of this. So x prime of t is equal to, that's going to be 4 times negative sign there. So negative 4 c1 sine 4t plus, and it's going to be the same thing here, but instead of going negative, it's going to be positive still, since sine goes to cosine, stays positive. 4 c2 cosine 4t. At x prime of 0, we've got that is going to zero out since sine of 0 is 0. And that's going to be equal to 1, so we're going to have 4c2 is equal to negative 5. And if we move that over, we've got c2 dividing both sides by 4 is going to be equal to negative 5 over 4. And there's our c2, so we can plug those back in to get our x of t is equal to 3 halves cosine 4t minus 5/4 sine t. And there's our actual model as opposed to just our general solution. Now it does want it in the form with the amplitude times cosine of omega t minus delta. So the amplitude is essentially just the hypotenuse of the right triangle. When those two functions are doing their thing back and forth with cosine and sine, the amplitude is going to be the hypotenuse of that triangle there. And delta is going to be the angle that we want in there. And so we need to pay attention a little bit too to whether C1 is going to go here or here. If we put delta in the bottom left, then cosine works adjacently. So it's going to be C1 down here. That's 3 halves. And then C2 is sine, which works in the opposite angle there. So there, it's going to go up there. That's equal to negative 5/4. And we just take it how we would a hypotenuse, because a squared is going to be equal to c1 squared plus c2 squared. So a is equal to the square root of c1 squared plus c2 squared. So a is equal to the square root of 3 halves squared plus negative 5/4 squared, which is equal to square root of 9/4. But we know that this guy's going to be 16ths, so multiply that by 4 to make our lives a little easier. We got 36 16ths plus 25 16ths. So we've got the amplitude is equal to square root of 61 16ths. And we can make that square root of 61 over 4, but I personally prefer to just leave everything in there as opposed to trying to add an extra 4 outside of it if I don't need to, unless there's going to be a 4 that'll cancel out later. So there's our A, is 64 16ths. And for our delta, we're going to be looking for essentially the arctan of it, because the tangent can take angles and give us the side length, but we can take the two side lengths here of the arctangent and get our angle out of it. If you're doing this in your calculator too, remember to have it set to radians as opposed to degrees. So it's going to be taking the opposite over the adjacent here for this arctan. So it's going to be C2 divided by C1. So it's going to be equal to negative 5/4, the arctan of negative 5/4 over 3 halves, which is negative 5/4 times 2/3, which is negative 10/12, which is negative 5/6. So the arctan of negative 5/6 is roughly equal to negative 0.694 5. It does have a little caveat in here of it wants it between 0 and 2 pi. So negative 0.695 is not between 0 and 2 pi. But what we can pay attention to first, which may take care of this for us, is where does it lie on the, which quadrant does it lie in? Because it's arctan can work in quadrant 1 and 2, so if cosine is positive and sine is positive, or if cosine is positive and sine is negative, then it's good in that quadrant, but if it exists in these quadrants, it doesn't work. So let's look at, earlier on, our cosine is positive and our sine is negative, so that's in quadrant 4, so that works. So that means rather than adding 1 pi for a phase change, to keep it in the same quadrant, we'll just add 2 pi, and that's going to come out to about 5.588. So that means our final answer here in this form is that x of t is going to be equal to our amplitude is square root of 61 over 16. 61 over 16, and that's times cosine. And the omega there is just the same one we had before, which was the same through all of them, which is that 4t. So we've got the 4 times t, and that's minus delta, which is 5.588. And there is our answer for part C. It does have one little extra thing at the end, is it wants you to say the amplitude and the period. The amplitude we already know is square root of 61 over 16. And the period is just, it's 2 pi over omega, and omega is equal to the square root of k over m. So 2 pi over omega, 2 pi divided by, and square root of k over m is also equal to 2 pi. If we flip, then it's going to be just times m over k, which makes our lives a little easier to not divide by a square root, and then we have it all in the same line. And that's equal to 2 pi times, we know m is equal to 0.625, and k is equal to 10. So there's our period. Last but not least, we can just check this. Double check in a graphing calculator too. If you put in your original equation without putting it all in terms of cosine, we've got your 3/2 cosine 4x here instead of t minus 5/4, and we see there's our 1.5 meter starting point, and it goes in the opposite direction as it goes down. And this is easy to see on a graphing calculator, but the benefit of putting it in the form of just, cosine times the amplitude or sine times the amplitude is a lot easier to visualize without actually having to put it in a graphing calculator to see what's going on. So if you put in the equation you have, including delta for that shift there, it should perfectly overlap at all the different points. And we see here too that since there's no damping force, it just continues on the same forever, and it's just going to go back and forth between these 2 points into eternity as long as it's there. Hope this helps you guys understand this a little better.